Who tells your story? The answer to that question may be the most important one you ever hear. A story can build a city. It can start a war. It can make a hero out of a simple man, or a villain out of a patriot. Stories shape how we feel about our neighbors, our leaders, our own lives. This is not a new idea. It is as old as the first fire, where the first tales were told. But today, the storyteller's reach is everywhere. It is in the light of our screens. It is the voice in our cars. It is the heart of our world. And we must ask who holds the pen. Media is that voice. One of the most effective tools for shaping thought is not force, but laughter. Ridicule is a quiet weapon. It is devastatingly simple. To control a narrative, you do not need to disprove an idea. You only need to make it look foolish. You make people laugh at it. You attach a silly label to anyone who dares to speak it. When an idea is drenched in mockery, most people will back away. They fear being the target of the joke, a crank, a fool, an outcast, so they fall silent. The debate ends before it ever truly begins. Think of how this works. Instead of engaging with the data, a talk show host gives them a funny nickname. A political cartoonist draws them with a tin-foil hat. Soon the person's name is linked not to their work, but to the caricature. The facts they presented are forgotten, lost beneath a wave of easy laughter. This is a powerful form of social control. No laws, no prisons, no soldiers. It works by using our own fear of humiliation against us. It is a way to manage dissent without ever appearing to be a tyrant. This technique is especially potent in the age of social media. A meme can travel the globe in minutes. A sarcastic hashtag can trend for days. These small digital arrows of mockery can silence 1,000 thoughtful voices. They shift the focus away from substance and onto performance. The goal is no longer to be right, but to be on the right side of the joke. This creates an environment where intellectual courage is punished. Speaking an unpopular truth becomes a social risk. As a result, the Overton window, the range of ideas the public is willing to consider, shrinks. The conversation becomes shallower, safer, and easier to control. This is not an accident, it is a strategy. Those who wish to protect an established order know that direct censorship can cause a backlash. People resist being told what they cannot say, but they are much less likely to resist a good joke. Ridicule is the velvet glove on the iron fist of control. It keeps the public conversation within predictable lines. It ensures that inconvenient truths remain on the fringe, laughed at but never seriously examined. It is a gentle art, but its effect is anything but gentle. It is the silent guardian of the status quo, and it is at work all around us, every single day. Not all facts are created equal in the world of news. The story you receive is not the whole story. It is a curated collection of facts, chosen by reporters and editors. This power of selection shapes reality. An event that receives hours of airtime becomes a national crisis. An almost identical event, ignored by the same networks, might as well have never happened. The choice of what to show, what to leave in the dark. It constructs a version of reality for the public. It tells us what matters. It tells us what does not. Consider the example of a protest. A large gathering, marching for a cause that aligns with the mainstream narrative, will be given top billing. Cameras zoom in on compelling signs. Reporters interview the most passionate speakers. The story is framed as a righteous movement. Now imagine another protest, equal or larger, that challenges the established view. That protest may get a brief late mention, or it may be ignored entirely. Over time, viewers get a skewed impression. They see only one side of public passion and assume it's the only side. This selective reporting extends to the choice of experts. When a complex issue arises, outlets bring in experts to explain. But who are these experts? Same universities, think tanks, corporations. They often share a similar worldview. If only supportive experts are given a platform, the public hears a chorus, not a debate. Dissenting opinions are left unheard. The issue is presented as settled. This creates a false consensus, making it much harder to question the official story. The headline and the soundbite are the sharpest tools, designed to be short, sticky, emotionally resonant. A single phrase, repeated, can define an issue. Weapons of mass destruction. Too big to fail. These phrases slice through complexity and leave a powerful impression. But they strip away context, nuance, contradictory evidence. We are left with a caricature of the truth. We form beliefs on an incomplete story, acting on partial information while believing we have the full picture. This is the power of omission. It is the truth, but it is not the whole truth. To understand the story, you must understand the storyteller. And to understand the storyteller, you must ask who pays their salary. The vast majority of our media, newspapers, television networks, movie studios, radio stations, are owned by a very small number of massive corporations. These are not simply media companies, defense technology, finance, pharmaceuticals. Their primary goal is not to inform the public. Their primary goal, like any corporation, is to protect their investments and increase their profits. This fundamental fact shapes everything they produce. These corporate interests create a powerful, often invisible, filter on the news. A story that might hurt the parent company's other business ventures is unlikely to receive enthusiastic coverage. A documentary that questions the safety of a major advertiser's product may never get funding. This does not require a sinister phone call from a CEO demanding censorship. The system is far more subtle. Writers, producers, and editors understand the unspoken rules. They know which topics are safe and which are dangerous to their careers. This self-censorship is pervasive. It creates a silent consensus, a shared understanding of what should not be said. The ties go deeper still. The boards of directors of these media giants often overlap with the boards of other powerful corporations and banks. They sit in the same clubs. They attend the same conferences. They share a common culture and a common set of financial interests. This creates a unified worldview among the elite. They come to see the world in a similar way, and the media they control reflects that view. It is not a conspiracy in the classic sense of a smoke-filled room. It is a convergence of interests, a natural alignment of powerful people who work to protect a system that benefits them all. When many different news outlets, all owned by this small web of interconnected interests, repeat the same story, it creates a powerful echo chamber. The message is amplified until it feels like an undeniable truth. A policy favored by these corporations is presented as a brilliant necessity. A foreign leader who threatens their interests is painted as a monstrous dictator. A grassroots movement that challenges their power is dismissed as fringe and dangerous. This is how a narrow, elite perspective comes to be seen as the common sense of the nation. The web of ownership ensures that the story serves the powerful, presented as a service to the public. The shaping of your reality is not confined to the news. It is woven into the very fabric of our entertainment. The movies we watch, the television shows we binge, the novels we read, they do more than just entertain us. They teach us. They show us what a normal life looks like. They define our heroes. They define our villains. They instruct us on what to value. They instruct us on what to desire. They instruct us on whom to trust. This influence is often more powerful than news. We do not watch with our guard up. We are there to relax. We are there to escape. In that relaxed state, our minds are open to suggestion. Think about how authority is portrayed in popular culture. Police officers, government agents, powerful executives. They are shown as dedicated. They are shown as intelligent. They are shown as morally righteous. Even when they bend the rules, the narrative justifies their actions. It tells us that sometimes, for the greater good, power must be unchecked. This constant diet of stories can soften our skepticism of authority. It can make us more accepting of surveillance. It can make us more willing to trade freedom for the promise of security. It normalizes the mechanics of control. Entertainment can shape our understanding of social issues. A show can introduce a new idea about family, about relationships, about identity, and make it seem mainstream within a few seasons. By featuring certain lifestyles and perspectives while ignoring others, storytellers can guide cultural change. They can create empathy for one group and suspicion for another. This is not always political. Often writers reflect the world they know, but Hollywood is a small, specific world. The values it exports become the values many people absorb without question. This process works slowly, like water dripping on a stone. A single movie will not change your worldview, but 1,000 movies, 1,000 television shows, all telling similar stories will shape your assumptions about the world. They build a baseline for what is considered reasonable, what is normal, what is good. They can make concentrated power seem exciting and necessary. They can make dissent seem dangerous and unpatriotic. The stories we consume for fun are not just stories. They are lessons. They are blueprints for our reality, handed to us while we are looking for a simple escape. So, how do we protect our minds? How do we learn to see the hidden hands at work? It is not about retreating from the world. It is about learning to read the world with new eyes. It begins with simple questions. When you consume any piece of media, whether it is a news report or a blockbuster film, ask, who made this? Who paid for it? A quick search can often reveal the parent company of a news network or the studio behind a movie. Knowing their other business interests can provide crucial context for the story they are telling. This is the first step, seeing the author behind the words. Next, we must learn to read beyond the headlines and listen past the sound bites. Always seek out the full story. If a report quotes an expert, look that expert up. Do they have a known bias? Are they funded by a particular industry or political group? A healthy news story should present competing expert views. It should show the debate, not just the conclusion. Be wary of any story that presents a complex issue as simple, with all the smart people on one side. That is often a sign that the story is being managed. True understanding lives in the nuance, in the details that a headline is designed to erase. Pay close attention to the use of language and tone. Notice when a story uses mockery instead of argument. Is a dissenting view explained, or is it simply labeled with a dismissive term like conspiracy theory or fringe idea? Notice what is absent. Is there a major event that you know happened but it is not being reported? Is there a logical perspective that is completely missing from the discussion? These omissions are often more revealing than what is present. Learning to spot the holes in the narrative is a critical skill for independent thought. It is like seeing the shape of an invisible object by observing the space around it. Finally, we must actively diversify our sources of information. It is comfortable to stay within our own bubble, listening only to voices that confirm what we already believe. But this is intellectual surrender. Make it a habit to read and listen to people you disagree with. Seek out independent journalists, foreign press, and small outlets that are not beholden to massive corporations. Yes, the internet has its own traps, but it also provides access to a wider range of voices than ever before. The key is not to believe everything you read, but to compare the different stories. When you see how the same event is reported in 3 different ways, the hidden biases become visible. The invisible ink begins to appear, In the end, this is not just about media, it is about our own habits of mind. The control of a story is only possible when we, the audience, are passive. It relies on our willingness to accept information without question. It thrives on our desire for simple answers and our fear of being different. The forces shaping our reality are powerful, But they are not all powerful. The ultimate authority still rests with each of us. It is the authority to think for ourselves. It is the choice to be a critical observer rather than a passive consumer. This is the bedrock of a free society. Democracy cannot survive on a diet of curated truths and comfortable lies. It requires informed citizens. It demands vigorous debate. It needs a public square where unpopular ideas can be heard, tested, not ridiculed, dismissed. When the range of acceptable thought is narrowed, our choices become meaningless. We are left to choose between two versions of the same, pre-approved story. This is not freedom. It is the illusion of freedom. To reclaim a healthy public life, we must first reclaim our own minds. We must demand more from our media and more from ourselves. We can make that choice today. We can start by asking questions. We can teach our children to read the world with a healthy dose of skepticism. We can support independent voices who are brave enough to challenge the powerful. We can refuse to participate in the culture of mockery and instead engage with ideas we disagree with respectfully. We can value the hard work of finding the truth more than the comfort of having our biases confirmed. These are not small acts. They are acts of intellectual self-defense. They are the building blocks of a more honest world. The story of our time is being written right now. The question is, who will hold the pen? Will it be the hidden hands that work in the shadows, crafting a narrative to serve their own interests? Or will it be us? A people awake, aware, and unwilling to be led quietly. A people who understand that stories can be cages, but they can also be keys. The choice is ours to make. We can let them tell our story, or we can start telling our own. The future of our reality depends on what we decide.